Welcome to another episode of Dating Decoded.
Today we are diving deep. Get ready for Speed Mingle Unfiltered.
You know, if you think about like just the biological mechanism of thirst, it's usually a pretty straightforward equation.
Right, yeah. You get thirsty, you drink water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're dehydrated, your body recognizes a deficit, you feel that dry, scratchy sensation in the back of your throat. So you walk over to the sink, pour yourself a glass of water, and drink it.
And problem solve.
Right. It's a simple 1-to-1 ratio of identifying a need and just, fulfilling it.
It's a highly efficient feedback loop. I mean, your central nervous system identifies the physiological deficit, you apply the remedy, and your body is back to normal. There's really no ambiguity there.
Yeah. But when you zoom out and look at the landscape of modern human connection today, you realize that this simple equation is just completely broken down.
Oh, absolutely shattered.
We are arguably thirstier than ever for genuine interaction. I mean, we walk around all day with these incredibly powerful, glowing supercomputers in our pockets.
That are just constantly serving up thousands of faces.
Right. You have access to thousands of potential friends, dates, mentors. It looks like a literal ocean of water right at your fingertips. And yet somehow we are dying of social dehydration.
Yeah, you see the water, you reach for it, but when you pull your hand back, it's just sand.
It's this massive collective digital mirage
Yeah.
that we're all just wandering through right now.
That metaphor really captures the central paradox of our whole hyper-connected era. We're currently drowning in potential contacts, but we're utterly starved for actual connections.
Starved for the real thing.
Yeah. We've essentially mistaken the menu for the meal. Because we're swiping and scrolling through endless options, our brains are sort of tricked into thinking we are engaging socially.
But we aren't, really.
No, not at all. That underlying psychological deficit, that deep human need to just be seen and understood, it remains completely untouched.
Okay, let's unpack this, because today we are doing a deep dive into an organization that is actively attempting to shatter that digital mirage.
Which is incredibly ambitious.
It is. We are looking at a fascinating, highly structured, real-world solution to this exact problem. So for you listening, we're focusing on a specific event happening in Tampa, Florida.
Right, the Beat the Heat meet and greet.
Yep, the Meet and Greet Speed Mingle. It's scheduled for July 26, 2026, hosted by a brand called the Speed Mingle.
And our mission today is to really deconstruct exactly how this event is attempting to rewrite the rules of adult socializing.
Right, because they are trying to strip away the digital screens entirely. But beyond that, they want to eliminate that crushing awkwardness of traditional networking and dating.
Which I think we can all relate to.
Totally. I mean, if you are listening to this right now, chances are you felt that modern exhaustion, the endless scroll, the swipe culture, just the heavy fatigue of trying to maintain a social life through a pane of glass.
What's fascinating here is that we aren't just analyzing some local event listing for a Wednesday night out. We're examining a localized symptom of a massive behavioral shift.
Yeah, this Tampa event is like a perfect isolated case study.
Exactly. It's a case study for this broader societal pendulum swing back to IRL, in real life interactions. For the last decade, tech promised us ultimate efficiency and connection.
Everything was about optimizing our social lives.
Right. But what we're observing in the mechanics of this Speed Mingle event is a direct rebellion against that algorithmic isolation. It's a deliberate attempt to relearn how to be human in the same room.
And to really understand the cure they're offering, we kind of have to spend some time diagnosing the disease. The promotional materials for this event, they do not pull any punches.
No, they are very direct.
They immediately call out exhausting swipe culture, endless scrolling, and digital fatigue. They're framing modern digital social life not as a convenience, but as a heavy burden.
They're treating it almost like a modern occupational hazard. And psychologically speaking, swipe culture is exhausting because it fundamentally hijacks our neurochemistry.
How so?
Well, these apps are essentially BF scatterboxes. They operate on intermittent variable rewards. They spike your dopamine, which is the neurotransmitter for anticipation and craving, without ever delivering the serotonin and oxytocin you get from actual bonding.
So you're just constantly revving the engine, but never actually putting the car in drive.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. You get a microscopic, fleeting hit of validation when you get a match.
But the effort to get there is huge.
Exactly. Think about the sheer volume of superficial micro-decisions. Swiping left, swiping right, evaluating a complex human life based on 3 curated photos and a 2-sentence bio.
It's exhausting.
Doing that hundreds of times a day causes immense cognitive fatigue. It turns the organic beauty of human connection into a gamified chore.
It's like eating junk food.
Oh, totally.
You sit on your couch, you swipe, you get a few matches, and it gives you the illusion of being full. You might even think to yourself, wow, I have 50 matches in my inbox, my social life is booming.
But it's entirely empty calories.
Right. You finally close the app, look around your empty living room, and realize you are completely socially malnourished. You haven't spoken a word out loud.
You haven't heard their laugh or read their body language.
You haven't even made a split second of eye contact.
And you're describing the exact hollow feeling that the organizers of the Speed Mingle are targeting. However, they also recognize that the fatigue doesn't just magically stop when you finally meet up in the real world.
Because the old IRL ways are broken too.
Yeah, even when people do secure a meetup, they often rely on traditional social frameworks that are equally flawed. The event specifically critiques traditional speed dating and networking functions as having stiff, high-pressure job interview vibes.
Oh man, the job interview date. We've all suffered through that. You're sitting across a tiny wobbly table, sipping a lukewarm drink, just waiting for the interrogation to begin.
It's brutal.
And the event organizers point to the two absolute worst offenders of small talk. What do you do? And where are you from? They label these as superficial and repetitive.
Which they are.
But hold on, I got to push back a little here.
Yeah.
Isn't the what do you do question just like standard human default mode? If you strip that away, how do you even begin to map out who a stranger is? Is it really that toxic to ask someone how they spend 40 hours of their week?
I mean, you're right that it's an incredibly efficient way to gauge someone's life, and it is our cultural default. But the efficiency is the core of the problem.
Because it's too transactional.
Exactly. When you lead with, what do, you immediately establish a transactional framework. Consciously or subconsciously, you are evaluating their socioeconomic status.
You're figuring out their utility to you.
Yeah, you force them into a societal box. You aren't connecting with who they are emotionally. You are analyzing how they generate capital.
You're basically checking their resume instead of checking their vibe.
That is the danger of it, yeah.
You figure out if they are a VP of marketing or a barista, and then you adjust your respect level accordingly before you even know if they have a good sense of humor.
And by relying on those status prompts, you actively block organic chemistry. The promotional material explicitly talks about finding undeniable, effortless sparks born from authentic physical presence.
And a physical presence does not care about your quarterly earnings report.
No, it cares about shared humor, spontaneous intellectual reactions, and mutual energy. When you filter human beings through a rigid Q&A, you lose the messiness and joy of humanity.
Okay, so if the digital way is a mirage, and the old school IRL way is basically an interrogation under fluorescent lights, what exactly is the new way?
Right, what are they doing differently?
Exactly, and this brings us to the defining philosophy of the whole operation. I really want to emphasize this distinction for everyone listening. This is explicitly branded as a speed mingle.
Yes.
They go out of their way to loudly separate themselves from the concept of traditional speed dating.
The distinction in nomenclature is paramount here. They are not just throwing a new coat of paint on a tired concept. They're presenting a highly energized, meticulously structured IRL social tool.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the best way to visualize what they're building in Tampa is to imagine a massive social hybrid.
A very intentional hybrid.
Think of the baseline mechanics of speed dating, like the rapid rotations, but then smash that together with the elevation of a high-end business after-hours networking event.
Okay, yeah.
And then finally, blend all of that with the relaxed, low-stakes gathering of your closest friends and coworkers at a neighborhood spot. It's this unique three-part cocktail.
Let's break down the mechanics of that three-part hybrid, because achieving that specific balance is brilliantly engineered. First, you take the sheer efficiency of speed dating.
Right, you meet a lot of people.
Yes, it provides the mathematical guarantee that you will not get trapped talking to the same overly talkative person all night. Second, you infuse it with the professionalism of a business mixer.
Which establishes decorum and structure.
Exactly. And finally, you wrap that highly structured environment in the comfort of a friendly weekend gathering. Creating an ecosystem that is both highly structured and deeply relaxing is incredibly difficult.
And the physical venue they chose does an immense amount of the heavy lifting for that comfort aspect. It takes place at Tampa's Coppertail Brewing Co.
A great spot.
If you've never been to Tampa in July, you have to understand the environment. It is brutal, It is sweltering. The humidity is oppressive.
Oh, it's intense.
Just picture stepping out of that midday heat, pushing open the heavy doors, and walking into this vibrant, industrial chic tap room. The AC hits you. It smells like roasted malt and hops.
You've got world-class craft beer flowing, local seltzers, pub bites.
And the acoustic design is usually loud enough to feel electric, but intimate enough that you don't have to scream to hear the person across from you. Just walking into that building inherently feels like a Saturday afternoon hanging out with friends.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the environment and the branding are acting as psychological pressure release valves.
How so?
Well, by changing the label on the ticket from speed dating to speed mingle, they instantly lower the emotional stakes for everyone. The word dating carries an incredibly heavy expectation.
Yeah, it implies you are evaluating physical attraction and risking immediate romantic rejection.
Right. Mingling, on the other hand, implies a casual, fluid, non-committal exchange of ideas. It completely removes the high-pressure expectations before you even walk through the doors.
It gives you a psychological out. If you tell your friends, I'm going to a speed dating event, you come home without a phone number, you feel like a failure.
You feel undesirable, yeah.
But if you say, I'm heading to a speed mingle at the brewery, and you don't meet the love of your life, well, you just went out, had a great craft beer, and chatted with locals.
The pressure is entirely off.
But, and this is crucial, lowering the pressure doesn't mean they are lowering the standards.
Yeah.
They aren't just shoving 50 random people into a room and saying, good luck.
No, not at all.
So how do they ensure people actually find what they're looking for? They do it through highly specific upfront intentions.
This is where the structural sophistication truly reveals itself. Upon arrival, attendees don't simply grab a name tag and wander off. They are required to clearly define their intent by selecting a deal-breaker category.
Let's spend some real time diving into these 4 pillars of connection because this is the engine running the event. The first pillar is the classic one: dating, romance, and real chemistry.
The stated goal here is to move past those filtered profile pictures to find an undeniable spark.
No awkward 45-minute commutes for a terrible first date. You get that immediate, visceral conversation to see if the banter aligns.
That's the traditional draw, but the second pillar completely pivots away from romance. The second pillar is friendship or social synergy.
Which is so important as adults.
It really is. Making genuine friends as an adult is notoriously difficult. The event highlights specific examples, like finding a reliable gym buddy, a brunch partner, or a co-conspirator for late-night intellectual debates.
I genuinely love the late-night intellectual debate call-out. It shows they deeply understand their audience. Sometimes you just want someone who wants to argue about philosophy over a pint at midnight.
Exactly. They're validating platonic connection as a primary goal.
Then the third pillar shifts gears again. Networking, or professional ascent. This is about exchanging industry insights, finding mentors, building partnerships.
But they specifically emphasize doing this minus the corporate conference room dread.
Because that dread is real.
Traditional networking events are plagued by rigid power dynamics and terrible lighting. Relocating that to a brewery completely disarms those dynamics. It allows mentorship to happen peer-to-peer.
And finally, the fourth pillar, which is maybe the wildest inclusion, is casual fun, or spontaneous adult play.
Yes, defined as high-energy, low-commitment interactions.
Specifically aimed at spontaneous hookups or casual, no-strings-attached fun. Though they do state it operates with clearly defined boundaries for a respectful experience.
It is a bold inclusion for an event that also hosts professional networking.
Right, and I have to stop us here because this sounds like a logistical nightmare. We have people looking for a business mentor and people looking for a spontaneous hookup in the exact same physical space.
I know, it sounds tricky.
Doesn't that sound like a recipe for total social chaos? Imagine the crossed wires. You sit down hoping to discuss startup funding, and the person across from you is looking for, well, something entirely different.
It's a completely valid concern. If this were an unstructured mixer, it would be chaotic. But this is where the genius of the deal-breaker category acts as a firewall.
Okay, how does that work?
When you register, you select your specific category, and the matchmaking algorithm operating behind the scenes identifies your best matches based strictly on that stated intent.
So it silos people.
Exactly. The structure rigorously silos these intentions. You are simply not going to sync up with someone seeking casual fun if your intent is professional ascent.
Ah, okay. That is a massive relief. So the room is shared, the kinetic energy is shared, but the actual one-on-one collisions are highly curated and protected.
Right. You only face off against participants who share your overarching purpose.
That makes perfect sense. So you've picked your lane. Let's say you pick friendship. How does the system actually match you up within that lane? You aren't going to magically hit it off with every single person who clicked friendship.
There has to be a deeper layer, yeah.
This brings us to the algorithm of authenticity.
Now, the word algorithm usually carries a negative connotation when we talk about modern socializing. But the Speed Mingle uses a digital tool to facilitate analog authenticity.
How do I do that?
Once you select your primary purpose, you add a secondary layer of specific interests. The system asks you to tag yourself with categories like adventure, arts and culture, film and TV, food and drink, intellectual stimulation.
So it's essentially scraping the metadata you'd normally put into a dating app profile.
Yeah.
But instead of using it to keep you endlessly swiping, it calculates a definitive compatibility percentage.
Precisely. It weaponizes the efficiency of digital sorting to optimize the real-world experience.
So if I tagged friendship and then intellectual stimulation and arts, it won't pair me with someone whose tags are sports and food.
Right. It creates a baseline of shared cultural vocabulary before you even say hello. But the algorithmic sorting is only step one. The actual mechanics of the interaction are what set this apart.
Right. What happens when the timer actually starts?
They emphasize the use of custom conversation icebreakers to ensure you bypass those resume-reading pleasantries.
I am endlessly fascinated by these custom icebreakers. They claim they dive straight into thought-provoking dialogues that reveal true personalities and authentic humor. I'm trying to imagine what these prompts must actually be.
They must be highly situational. We can extrapolate that instead of asking about a hometown, it forces a creative choice. Like, if you had to teach a masterclass tomorrow on a subject unrelated to your career, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one.
Or, what is an incredibly mundane, low-stakes hill you're willing to die on? These require immediate mental improvisation.
You can't use your rehearsed elevator pitch for that.
Exactly. They reveal way more about a person's cognitive style than their job title ever could.
It's like skipping the boring tutorial level of a video game.
Yes.
You know how in an open world game, the first 2 hours are tedious? You're learning how to walk, how to jump. That is small talk. Small talk is the tutorial level of a human relationship.
You're just figuring out the basic controls of the other person.
But these custom icebreakers act like a cheat code that teleports you straight into the main action of the game. You instantly escalate the depth. And the brilliance is the shared context.
The shared context is vital to psychological safety.
Because if I walked up to a stranger at a bar and asked, "What's a mundane hill you'd die on?" They look at me like I was crazy. But here, the structure permits the depth.
The overarching structure absorbs all the awkwardness of the approach, leaving participants free to just engage with the answer. It fast-tracks intimacy.
Okay, so we understand the theory, we know the algorithm is quietly calculating matches, and we're using icebreakers to skip the tutorial. Let's walk you through the actual timeline of the day to see how this plays out.
Pacing an event with this much emotional weight is a science in itself.
Totally. So July 26, 2026, peak Florida summer. Phase 1 is check-in and acclimation from 4.30 p.m. to 5:00 p.m. Get your name tag, get your materials, grab an ice-cold drink to cool down.
I love that they don't just blow a whistle the second you walk in.
Right, you need a buffer.
Yeah.
You just fought Tampa traffic, you walked across a sweltering parking lot, you need a minute.
From a physiological standpoint, that 30-minute buffer is non-negotiable. It allows the autonomic nervous system to downregulate. If you rush people from traffic into social evaluation, their cortisol levels are too high.
They'll be in fight or flight.
Exactly, which makes people defensive. Giving them a beer, letting them observe the lighting, cool their body temperature down. It ensures that when the mingling begins, they are grounded.
And then, at 5:00 p.m. sharp, the bell rings. From 5:00 p.m. is the main event. Fast-paced rotation rounds. It guarantees you meet your matches efficiently. But I have to ask a serious question about endurance.
Okay, what's that?
2 straight hours of forced rapid-fire conversation. For someone who leans introverted or has social anxiety, isn't that exhausting? It sounds like running a sprint for 2 hours.
It does sound counterintuitive on the surface, but for someone with social anxiety, this rigid structure is often a profound relief. If you look at their summary of benefits, they promise zero awkwardness.
How do they achieve that?
First, because the curated prompts guide the interaction. The anxious mind doesn't have to panic about what to say next. The prompt does the heavy lifting. And second, the strict timing acts as an emotional safety net.
Because you know there's an escape hatch.
Exactly. The greatest fear in networking is getting trapped in an excruciating conversation with no exit strategy. The timer eliminates that fear entirely. You know you will be rescued by the bell in minutes.
Wow, that completely flips the perspective. The timer isn't a stressful countdown. It's a liberating constraint. If the conversation is terrible, you only have to survive 3 minutes. You can do anything for 3 minutes.
And conversely, if it's amazing, the bell interrupts you at the peak of interest, leaving you wanting more.
It keeps the kinetic energy high, which perfectly sets up the final phase, the post-event open mingle.
Yes, at 7:00 p.m., the structured portion ends, but the gathering continues. Attendees stick around, grab another pint, continue a captivating conversation, and lock in contact info.
Why is that transition so important? Why not just email everyone their matches and send them home?
Because you have to eventually hand agency back to the participants.
Yeah.
The algorithm was necessary to break the ice, but actual relationship building must be organic.
You have to take the training wheels off.
Right. The open mingle allows you to act immediately on the data you just gathered. If you felt a spark during a 3-minute round, you can seek that person out at the bar and say, let's exchange numbers.
It bridges the gap between forced networking and real-world socializing. It's the harvest after the planting season. You spent 2 hours planting seeds, now you see which ones sprouted.
And creating this structured environment isn't just about making weekend plans. They claim that participating offers a meaningful life upgrade.
That's an audacious claim for a Wednesday night event at a brewery.
It really is. But they argue that stepping into this environment sharpens your active listening skills, forces you to think on your feet, and boosts your social self-esteem.
They're framing it as a gym workout for your communication skills. You are doing reps. Every time you sit down, you have to actively listen to a unique answer, process it, and formulate an on-the-fly response.
You're exercising a social muscle that modern technology has allowed to completely atrophy.
With all the emojis and text editing, we forgot how to just talk.
Exactly. But achieving that neuroplasticity, that growth, requires immense psychological safety.
Which brings us to the privacy shield.
Oh, this is fascinating. This raises an important question about how we judge others. Speed Mingle maintains a strict privacy policy regarding event demographics. They explicitly declare they do not disclose specific registration data like head counts, age ranges, gender identities, or racial backgrounds.
Which is a radical departure from traditional marketing. Usually organizers boast about their demographics. Come to our event. We have a 50-50 gender ratio. Average age is 28.
Right. They use data to sell tickets.
But by embargoing that, Speed Mingle forces a kind of mandatory social blindness, like a modern-day masquerade ball. But the mask is the removal of all your demographic labels.
You don't get to prejudge the room before you walk in.
You can't look at the data on Tuesday and say, oh, nobody in my tax bracket is going, I'll stay home.
Yeah.
You have to actually show up and experience the humans as they are.
The underlying belief is that prejudgments breed either disappointment or prejudice. Confirmation bias takes over. By hiding the data, they neutralize unconscious bias as much as structurally possible.
It forces you to just be profoundly present. Beautiful, honestly. Now, digging deeper into the sources, we realize this one event is actually just a small piece of a much larger ecosystem.
Let's look at the broader logistics. The pricing structure is quite revealing. Tickets range from $20.99 for an early bird to $41.69 for a day of ticket.
And a 2-for-1 deal for $29.99 that ends 10 days prior.
The 2-for-1 is a genius play to lower intimidation, bring a wingman. But the price jump from early bird to day of is a deliberate behavioral economics nudge.
Why punish the latecomers so heavily?
In our digital culture, flakiness is an epidemic. It's easy to RSVP yes online and then just stay on the couch. There's zero friction to bailing.
True.
By offering discounted early tickets that escalate in price, they create a financial commitment. It dramatically increases attendance due to the sunk cost fallacy.
They are guaranteeing the event has critical mass so the algorithm works. And this level of behavioral engineering makes sense when you look at the parent company, HRB Universal, LLC.
They're not just a pop-up event company. They're building a comprehensive lifestyle brand around decoding human interaction.
Right. They have the SmartSync login, which implies proprietary matchmaking software. They produce the 21st Century Dating Decoded podcast.
And analog products, too. They have a physical tabletop game called 52+2, the card game, and Minglemania Bingo. They even operate a one-to-one matchmaking service.
So what does this all mean? When you have a company producing algorithms, physical events, podcasts, card games, all centered around just talking to another human being, what does that tell us about society?
It tells us society has a profound deficit and is desperately seeking structured remediation. The hunger to relearn IRL socializing is a massive mainstream demand.
People know the digital tools have failed them.
Absolutely. They are exhausted and they are willing to pay for frameworks and events that reteach them how to forge genuine bonds. It's essentially an educational infrastructure for a society that forgot how to talk to itself.
It's a remedial class for human connection, disguised as a fun afternoon at a brewery, which is the best kind of class.
Without a doubt. It packages overcoming modern isolation into an accessible Sunday afternoon.
All right, let's take a step back. We started by looking at a local event listing for July in Tampa, but we've actually explored a full-scale rebellion against the digital mirage.
They've engineered a multi-purpose IRL event.
Yeah, taking the efficiency of speed dating, mixing it with a business mixer, and wrapping it in the comfort of a friendly gathering. Stripping away the job interview with custom icebreakers to guarantee zero awkwardness.
And their 4 pillars, dating, friendship, networking, casual fun, allow participants to find exactly what they need without crossing wires.
Plus that privacy shield to remove demographic bias. Ultimately, whether you're looking for a professional mentor, a gym buddy, or the love of your life, the mechanics of how we meet people fundamentally changes who we meet.
The medium truly is the message. A shallow app yields shallow connections. An intentional face-to-face gathering that prioritizes psychological safety yields incredible depth.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder this week. We've analyzed how a highly structured 2-hour event can foster instant authenticity. But what if you didn't wait for July 26?
Right. How can you apply this now?
What if you took the philosophy of the speed mingle and applied it to your everyday life? Think about it. What if you treated your very next mundane interaction with a grocery store cashier or a coworker you only politely nod at, not as small talk, but as a timed 3-minute round to find a genuine connection?
Skip the tutorial.
Exactly. What if, instead of asking about the weather, you ask them a custom icebreaker? You might just find that the oasis of human connection isn't a digital mirage at all. It's standing right in front of you, waiting for you to just start playing the game.
Thank you for listening
And watching on the new Speed Mingle TV network.